I think the fact that we need sleep is evidence that we're in a simulation. I think we're getting.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right.
Well, baby, you've been on my mind. I think about you all the time. Oh, I wanna see your face. That don't make me wait.
Dude, can you believe I found that? How cool is that?
Pretty lame.
Hey, come on, dude.
Pretty lame.
How long ago was this?
That's 2000.
2000.
2000, yeah.
So 21 years ago.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Dude, that's like this is the worst band shot ever.
I know, but that's what's great about it.
That's the stuff that gets made fun of on the regular.
You do straight?
No, I like it on the rocks. Sweet puppy dog.
All right, so Mark, this is basically what we'll do.
Hey, you want to get off the leash? Maybe?
Please let that dog.
Okay, I will.
He's a good
We'll
dog.
do his last year. Come on, buddy.
So you had a night off last night.
Yeah, we ended up.
Where'd y'all stay?
We stayed at this really nice modern hotel with no front desk called the Guild
Here?
in Dallas. It's in the Santander Tower.
Yep, I know where that is.
So we had dinner last night at the Tower Club.
Yeah.
I picked up the $860 tab.
Everybody, we're honored for our very first episode of Sleeping Around the podcast to have a good friend of mine, but also an amazing artist. And we're blessed to have you, Marc Broussard.
Yay, that's me.
And how we start every episode is cheers.
Beautiful.
And thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Today we're actually drinking Milam and Green. This is your gift, Mark.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Milam and Green is out of Blanco, Texas. And we are drinking their rye. This is their gold medal winner.
Oh, that's
Tastes
nice.
good. Yes,
and
good.
this is definitely going to go home with you or on stage
Appreciate
tonight or whatever. So, Mark, thank you for doing this.
You got it, my brother. I'm excited to be here, buddy. We haven't seen each other in a little while.
It's been a minute.
So Matt gave me my first job out of high school. I don't know if you knew that.
Here we go.
I was just getting ready to ask.
Yeah.
That was a perfect segue.
I don't know. I love the dog. What are you talking about?
Leave the dog.
Leave the dog.
This is Jasper, by the way. Jasper.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that's
Jasper
Handsome Dan's dog.
belongs
right
to
there.
Handsome Dan.
Right.
So yeah, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on. But how did you happen to cross paths with this guy? How do you know this guy?
He was youth minister at a church down the road from my hometown in a town called New Iberia, Louisiana. And I basically graduated high school without much of a plan of action. And I got a call from this guy saying, "Hey, man, you want to come work for me? I got a place for you to live. And I got another job for you." So I'll cut grass because he didn't really pay me.
true.
I cut grass for a living with one of the local parishioners and lived with a couple of other dudes that were in music ministry.
Okay.
And then the music ministry ended up forming a band called Y. Here's the shot. Here's the old promo tag right here. And I got to say, it's just as bad as anything I've ever seen.
Come on. I love that picture. I just love it. You're so young.
Y'all probably thought it was really cool at the time, though.
We thought it was amazing at the time.
Yeah.
And on my side of things, so I'll back up a little. Yes, 1999, I became a youth minister down in New Iberia. I was fortunate enough to go to this festival in Lafayette, and I was walking around and I heard this amazing voice, and it was the Train song by what's his name? Cat Stevens. Did he do?
Oh yeah, Peace Train.
And I'm like, who is singing this song? And they're like, oh, that's Marc Broussard, blah, blah. I'm like, good Lord. And then I saw you again at a retreat. You had a cast. And I was just taken by his heart for people, and so blessed to have him as my music minister. He always says I gave him his first job, kind of.
He did. He did. It was definitely a job.
And then Mark literally took off. And from the Tonight Show to other shows, he became like this awesome star. And he never one thing I've always admired about you, brother, you've never like lost who you were. Like, this is my hometown in Karen Crow, Louisiana. This is who I am. And anywhere he would go, when I was living in Dallas, he'd get a hold of me. I'd be on his tour bus. He'd get me back. I mean, he's always just been that guy. And so I thought, what a better person to have on our inaugural episode than a good friend and amazing musician. Marc
Oh yeah,
Broussard.
absolutely. So I got to say, I was introduced to Marc years and years ago. I'm a huge JJ Gray fan.
Oh, nice.
And so you guys were doing the Southern Soul Assembly way back when. I can't
Yeah.
remember when it was, 10, 15 years ago.
It wasn't quite that long ago. It was probably more like 5 or 6 years
Okay.
ago.
And yeah, maybe that sounds about right, because right when my daughter was born.
Okay.
And so I hadn't, really ever heard of you. And I went to go see this Southern Soul, and Marc gets up. He had the first song up there. And I was like, man, I don't care about JJ anymore. This is Marc guy.
I care a lot about JJ.
Well, I still do. No offense to JJ.
Right.
Man, he's like my guru
he
these
is
days, bro.
he is phenomenal.
He's like, he just shared a passage with me the other day via text that like healed me. The
Wow.
guy is a really special dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's really, really a special guy. I love him. I love him.
So
A
back
lot.
to your first job. You were in high school. You were right out of high school.
Mhm.
And you were already singing. You were already writing music. You were already singing.
Oh, he's been
Yeah.
doing that for, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I had full rides to LSU and several other schools for voice, but I was already making like $600 on a Friday night. I thought I was loaded. I thought I was set for life.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Matt for a year, and then I worked in a grocery store for another year, and then I escaped New Iberia.
Yep.
And pretty quickly found a route into the music business proper via a young lady from Lafayette who had been in the music business for a long time. And she connected me with a management company that connected me with a record label. And so I signed a record deal at 20 with Island Def Jam.
Yep.
And then I thought I was really set.
Really, yeah.
I mean, all I had to do after that was show up, That was a mistake, by the way. It was a mistake to believe that all I had to do was show up. And but luckily, my management company had enough favors to call in and get me opening for Maroon 5 on their first big
That's
tour.
right.
It was like
That's
right
right.
when Songs for Jane broke. And I did an East Coast run with them and then a West Coast run. And that gave me enough of an audience to really start to build. And so here I am almost 20 years later.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
I
phenomenal.
remember. Now, was the first album with Def Jam, was that Karen Crow?
Yeah.
Okay, so Karen Crow was the inaugural. That was the first, right?
Yeah. And then there was a regime change at Island Def Jam.
I was going to see if you're going to tell the story.
Yeah,
This is
so,
awesome.
So Leor Cohen was the CEO of Island Def Jam when I signed there, and he at some point in those first couple of years that I was there ended up leaving for Warner. He took over Warner North America, and subsequently the entire C-suite left with him. They just all peeled off and went to Atlantic. I think I'm the only artist that got signed by Leor at Island Def Jam and Atlantic because so the story goes, my second album for Island Def Jam got shelved by the CEO, the new CEO, a guy named L.A. Reid, and I asked to be let go. I asked to be dropped, which is apparently very rare. I don't know why more people don't ask to be dropped. Every single artist that's ever signed a record deal, they all go through the same evolution. The first few months of signing the deal, you ask them, "Hey man, how's it going? How do you like it over there?" "Oh, we love it, man. It's awesome." And then 2 years later, they're like, "Dude, I don't know, man. We're looking for the exit now,
Right.
So anyways, I asked to be let go. I had just used up all of the original material that I had for an album that I didn't own, and I had a re-record restriction.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't re-record that music.
From the album that got shelved.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. There's a 8-year re-record restriction. In most contracts, that's standard.
Okay.
So we decided to make a covers album and go shopping for a record deal during that recording process. Stax had just been bought by Concord, and they were re-releasing the Stax label their 50th anniversary. So I was really excited about this Soul Covers album coming out on Stax Records. I turned the record in before we actually inked the deal. I turned the record into the CEO, and he hated it. He told me that I was going to get eaten alive by the critics, and he walked away from the deal. Vanguard Records, Kevin Welk, sight unseen. They didn't even want to hear the album. They were just like, "Here's the money.
Wow.
Here's more money than they were offering. Let's go."
Do it.
And that album actually got me overseas for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's responsible, I think, for the Atlantic deal that came after that Vanguard Records deal, because Kevin Welk apparently he tells a story that he was at it was like those presidents organizations, like, under 60 and worth 60 million or something like that. There was a golf tournament, and he was there. He was talking to a mutual friend of ours, a guy named Rick Krim, who runs VH1.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking to Rick about my new album, and Lior walks in and overhears it. The new CEO, my old CEO at Island, the new CEO at Atlantic, he overhears him, and according to Kevin, he called business affairs on the spot and said, "Draw up the paperwork."
Awesome. Now, I can remember this, and I hope I'm not getting this in wrong order, but I was so excited because if you've ever had a friend that's on TV, like the VH Artist of the Month, and then a couple years later, you're on there, but you did the duet with Leanne Rimes that was also on CMT.
Yeah.
It's like you had both worlds going. And of course, the home video and the home song that's just everybody's covered, commercials and Kelly Clarkson. How did all that, because I just remember, I'm trying to remember the dates on that. Like your first video on VH1.
It would have been home, likely. It's sort of a catch-22, because I thought it was a great strategy to go release several songs at the same time to different formats.
Right.
None of the labels thought that was a good idea.
Okay.
So the biggest issue, I think, with me and record labels is that my music is a little too varied for the marketing department to come up with a successful strategy to promote it.
I could see that because you're not pop.
No.
And you're not country.
No.
But I've always known you as to me, it's just that soul, Louisiana, just.
Interestingly enough, it works really well overseas.
Yeah.
Holland is my biggest market in the world.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We sell more tickets there than anywhere. And it just works. Like whatever we put out there, it works. UK, I have more listeners in the UK than anywhere else in the world on Spotify.
That is well, and I'll tell you. So Brandon and I, let's tie this together. So I took a job with a company called SomnoMed. I met Brandon almost a year ago. We started, just a business relationship where I would call on him, and then I would always send him wine, pictures of wine I'm drinking and music that I'm listening to. And we met for dinner one night. 8 years in the desert. We had this really nice bottle of wine. And we just started throwing out the idea, man, we should do a podcast. And he goes, man, there's this artist I really like a lot. That's that night. He goes, it's the best concert I saw. It was right before everything shut down. It was in Austin. This guy named Marc Broussard. I was man,
it was like meant to be.
I go, really? So that's that night I text you, and you were busy that night. And then when we were just recently, you did that, which I thought was awesome. Marc's always giving of his time from his book that we'll get to, but also his children's book, but also I just saw you, it was a benefit for the stage workers or up in Lafayette when I came and saw you. We shot that video backstage for Brandon.
Oh yeah. So that's a group that I'm affiliated with. It's called Love of People. And Love of People's got a really broad mission, but one of the side project focuses is on aging musicians. So the founder of the group, he has basically a life concierge service. He can do everything from cut your grass to hospice. Mm-hmm. And so through these elder musicians donating of their time, well, they don't even really donate their time. They get paid to play these shows. It's called Blue Monday. It's a once a month concert series. And through their participation in Blue Monday, they not only make some money, but they also get access to some of these concierge services through his company.
Yeah, because they're elderly, maybe they have arthritis or they can't see.
Yeah, I mean, there's just there's so many aging musicians in South Louisiana, that are responsible for the cultural economy of South Louisiana, which is robust and a really beautiful scene. But making money as a musician is difficult. You know, a dear friend of mine, Tony Hall, bass player for the Meters for a long time, told me one day, he said, you know, in 1980, if you had $200, you could hire anybody in New Orleans.
Right.
In 2020, if you have $200, you can hire anybody in New Orleans.
Wow. Yeah.
In fact, we're dealing right now with the passing of a legend. A guy named Warren Storm just passed, and there's not enough money to bury the guy.
Wow.
You know, so we're all kind of scrambling to put together something. But yeah, you know, it's remarkable how challenging these times are for the aging musicians, and even when they do get help,
Right.
like Music Cares, which is basically the only reason I pay for Grammys, pay dues to the Grammy Foundation, because of something that they did for a friend of mine years ago who got sick with cancer. Music Cares stepped in and took care of all of his medical bills.
Wow.
But they also, there's some horror stories. So I interviewed Buckwheat Zydeco's old bass player, Lee Alenzino, for my web series last year.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we cut cameras, he said, man, I'm really struggling with my house. My roof is leaking, blah, blah. And turns out that Music Cares gave him just enough money to put shingles on a roof that needed a metal roof.
Yeah.
You know, when he first gave him the first quote, they said, oh, that's too high. You're going to have to find somebody else. And so he ended up hiring some jackleg to throw shingles up on a roof so, you know, there's just that kind of stuff that we're trying to help mitigate.
Well, and so let's talk about the book, which I've always, and we're definitely going to have you play in a minute, Mark. Everybody's going crazy to hear you play. How did the children's book come in that concept and that idea, and who does that benefit for our audience?
Sure. So that first covers record that I told you about on Vanguard was called SOS, Save Our Soul. Then I signed a deal with Atlantic. That went south. By 2011, I was declared, I basically showed zero income to the IRS. They took pity on me and gave me a big check to as a refund. And I needed to fire the manager that I had at the time.
Right.
But contractually, I still owed him $35,000. So he got the whole IRS benefit and my touring van. And I was just kind of stuck, you know? And I realized at that point that just showing up was no longer an option, that I really needed to engage dramatically in my own career. And for some reason, I don't know what it was, man. I just knew that the records that I sold for these major labels, the profits kept the lights on in office buildings in New York and LA.
Right.
And I wanted to redirect those funds. I never saw those funds,
right,
because I never recouped any of the record deals that I ever had. Without getting into a lot of detail,
sure,
record deals are high interest loans,
right,
and you have to pay back the advances from your own share, which is typically somewhere around 10 cents on every dollar of profit. So basically, you know, if there's $10 of profit, I got to sell 500,000 units before I can actually start participating in the profit. Mm-hmm. I never even sniffed that. I mean, especially in the streaming era, never sniffed that. So I never saw those dollars, so I didn't need them for my families to function. And so when that new revenue stream, when I went independent, that revenue stream was now available to me. Mm-hmm. Again, because I never needed it to feed my family, I decided to redirect those funds to people that actually needed to keep their lights on. So I started the Sos Foundation, and every few years we release these covers albums to raise money for various charity projects. So SOS 2 was actually the first charity album, and we partnered with a homeless women and children shelter in Atlanta called City of Refuge that boasts 97% success rates with getting
Wow.
people off the streets permanently.
Wow.
It's a really comprehensive program. They've got a culinary academy on campus. They've got
awesome.
a K through 12 academy on campus. They've done so well that Napa Auto Parts just opened a couple of years ago, opened a mechanic school and guaranteed 100% job placement. It's an incredible program. And if you're looking to support, organizations that are working in that space, City of Refuge is
And what we'll do,
is the
Mark,
gold
on this
standard.
episode on our YouTube channel, we'll have the links down there. So we'll
Perfect.
definitely have
Yeah,
that
perfect.
connected.
And then 2 years ago, we put out SOS 3. It's a Lullaby Collection. And I've been friends with an illustrator for a number of years now, Rebecca Phillips. And she and I had talked, a number of times about doing a project together. And I've actually worked with her husband a number of times. And so the last time we were all together, her husband and I were doing a film shoot together. I said, that's it. We're doing it. I know I have the avenue. I actually have this SOS Foundation that can help participate and will benefit a children's hospital. So there was a brand new St. Jude affiliate hospital built in Baton Rouge that had just opened up. And so we partnered with them.
Nice.
Awesome.
What was that transition? You mentioned kind of going from the label and going independent and kind of around the same time, really feeling this need to engage more.
Yeah.
So, what was the changes that you made? What was that transition like for you? And, the pros, the cons?
Well, most importantly, I put my brain to work on the music more than anything. For years prior, it was like building albums by committee.
Mm-hmm.
All the guys in the band had a big influence. And then transitioning to independent, it was no longer that way. I was in the driver's seat. Basically, it was like this. I realized that if I'm not carrying a football, it's not getting over the line.
There you go.
Got it.
And so I just engaged with my manager, my new management company, who are amazing, Wills Pro Management. Just really engaged with Doug and develop strategies for promo that actually have gotten us over the line. Reduced our touring overhead dramatically. Got rid of the bus. Got back in the van.
Mm-hmm.
Cut the crew loose,
Mm-hmm.
and just made the economics work to our benefit again. That's basically
Well, and one of the
only
things
things that I
that
needed
Mark
to
and
do.
I have stayed in touch through this whole journey and my personal journey, some lows and some highs, and I've always been able to stay in touch. And it's funny, I was the youth minister, right? I'm the elder here. But Mark was really there for me around that time too, in 2011, 2012. Then became even more apparent in my life in 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
So we've kept this friendship, and I'm always watching Mark go sing and play. And it could be at the smallest venues, like in the middle of nowhere, Texas, with your dad. That was the coolest thing
Yeah.
ever. Or it could be in the big venues. But you're in our studio here in Austin. I would love for you to just play one song for
Man, I
us.
could do that. We got to hook up some gear first.
That's okay. We can do that.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a break for a second, or do you just keep it rolling? Keep it rolling. All right. Well, the dog has officially made
I thought I was the dog's favorite, but apparently we've
smart. They match his beard.
red
and
and
that dog.
red over here.
Some old strings on this thing, boss. Oh, perfect. Okay, cool.
We got you. So this is how we do it here at Sleeping Around the Podcast. Thank you, Mark.
This is the saddest song that I've ever written. It's not the saddest song ever written, though. I know that because after I wrote this song, I challenged a friend of mine who happens to be an Irish traditional singer. I challenged him to a sad song contest. And I played my little sad song, and he said, "Oh, that's nice." And then I handed him the guitar, and he takes the guitar and he puts it between his legs like this, and he just starts tapping his foot, and he does. I'm stretched on your grave and I'll lie there forever. All right. I'm going to leave that there. This song is actually called Sad Song. They say a man ain't supposed to cry, but I don't want to hold back these tears tonight. Sometimes all it takes is a single lie. I'm gonna need a minute. I'll never hide away from anyone. Don't wanna burden you, but if you please, there is one thing you can do. I just wanna hear a sad song, the kind that makes you want your lover home, that makes you stay up every night, worried about your life being alone. Won't somebody play a sad song, the kind that makes you hate your telephone? 'Cause all it ever brings to mind is how you spend your nights listening to a sad song. A song that makes me emotional, so I can get on with these tears. I never thought this was possible. We had too many happy years. She's got a hold on to me, couldn't help if I choose. So if you please, there is just one thing you can do. I just wanna hear a sad song, the kind that makes you want your lover home, that makes you stay up every night, worried about your life being alone. Won't somebody play a sad song, the kind that makes you hate your telephone? 'Cause all it ever brings to mind is how you spend your nights listening to a sad song. Oh, no, no, no. I just wanna hear a sad song, the kind that makes you want your lover home, that makes you stay up every night, worried about your life being alone. Won't somebody play a sad song, kind that makes you hate your telephone? 'Cause all it ever brings to mind is how you spend your nights listening to a sad song. Sad song. Oh.
That's fantastic.
Making the musics, babe. Making the musics. Cheers.
I love
Love
you.
you too, buddy.
I love you. You're so
Yeah,
good.
thanks for having me.
We're going to transition a little bit.
Okay.
So part of our
You want this,
passion,
Mike?
Yeah, let me
Which-
swing that out the way.
Handsome Dan.
part of our passion, obviously, is sleep. The podcast is called Sleeping Around with Dr. Marc and Matthew. And one of the things that we like to do, towards the end of our podcast, because we both are very passionate about it. I've actually talked to you about sleeping before. But Brandon's going to ask just some basic questions because it's unique when we have musicians come in. Y'all's schedule's got to be nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's really nuts.
So how much do you sleep?
I actually don't sleep a ton. Just naturally, I've noticed in the last few years that I'm averaging probably 6 hours at the most.
Mhm.
But I'm waking up like as soon as I get up, I'm up.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready to
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
It's I don't mind not sleeping as much as I probably ought to. I know that there's like less than 1% of the world's population that can survive on that can actually get it done with less than 8 hours though.
Yeah.
It's a crazy statistic. I
Yeah,
know that.
I can't imagine that I fall into that category.
I think the magic number is like 7.5
Okay.
is kind of what they say. Of course, quality sleep, of course, but is your schedule different when you're traveling, when you're playing, when you're touring versus when you're home? Do you find one versus the other?
I drink more when I'm on the road,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
and it just depends on how far a drive we have, really. It really just depends whether or not we're going to leave at 10 or we're going to leave at 8.
Well, and I would see him later on. And by the way, he got in incredible shape because there for a while you were not taking care of your body and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. And you did, man. So I know that helped. But also, like, I was always like, hey, man, let's hang out afterwards. After a show, he goes, bro, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm going home. And
Yeah.
you were in Houston driving back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So is it something about, trust me, I travel a lot too. Is it something about just being home? You feel like you sleep better versus being on the road?
Well, yeah. First of all, I got this amazing 30-pound weighted blanket
Oh,
Ooh.
that
yeah.
is really is a game changer.
is that like the thunder blanket that the dogs use?
I think
to-
so.
with lightning.
I think
Man,
so.
this
Yeah.
thing is so amazing.
I've heard
Okay.
about, but it seems like it'd be hot. Like I can't.
It's not. It's
Okay.
the opposite.
Okay.
It's because there's less distance between me and the air conditioned air,
Mm-hmm.
because that weighted blanket is pressing up against the body. So there's just less insulation between me and the air. Yeah, it's amazing. And then I got one of those sleep number beds
Yeah.
with the
Adjustable.
adjustable. Yeah. I thought I was gonna get that when I was in my 70s. But I love it, man.
So
I
let me ask you,
absolutely love
when
it.
your bride hears you snore, do you snore?
I do.
Does that really work? Like she just raises it? Okay.
No, it
All
doesn't.
right. So you do snore.
I grind my teeth more than I snore.
Oh,
Oh, so now you're
Okay.
talking.
I have a misaligned jaw,
okay.
and it would take a palate separator cemented into my palate in order to correct it. And there's no guarantee that it wouldn't change my voice. So
Yeah.
I've gone ahead and
Ooh.
passed on that.
I've seen that with musicians very commonly. They are hesitant to do
Sure.
any type of orthodontic correction,
Yeah.
any type of, whether they play the flute, I've seen musicians that play instruments, and then singers, of course, that they're really hesitant to do that because
There's no guarantee that my voice wouldn't change. And I mean, it's pretty obvious that the structure of my facial bones are pretty integral into the quality of my voice.
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, with no guarantee that my voice wouldn't change.
So what do you do to help with the grinding and do you wear an appliance? Do you
No,
wear
I
anything?
don't.
Just-
I was set to get an appliance fairly recently, and then it was I had to go to Natchez, Mississippi, in order to get it. And
I think I might be able to help you out more.
okay, cool.
we know a
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Got
I
it.
think I might be able to help you out
Got
there,
it.
brother.
Yeah, they wanted to do a sleep study over the course of the weekend. I just didn't have the time.
Like I said, we'll talk off camera,
All right.
but I think I'll be able to help you out there. So have you seen the older you get, and again, you have besides just being an amazing musician, you have struggles that everybody has, right? You're married, you got the kiddos,
Sure.
stress. you said you drink more on the road, but as you get older, you finding that you're sleeping less or you sleeping more?
I'm sleeping less than I used to, a lot less.
Really? Okay.
Because
Because when I knew you,
yeah, I could sleep, bro. back
well,
in the
good
day,
sleep.
boy.
I mean, you could sleep.
I could sleep better than most.
And we used to joke about it, this little group that he would run with. Great guys. By the way, give a shout out to Brad Burrito, Scott, and Justin. But he would sleep. And I tell you, you could hibernate. 12 hours was nothing for you.
It wasn't a problem for me at all.
Okay. And you
So
were
maybe I'm like equaling out now.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Finding the balance.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever wake up? I mean, some of your inspiration, your songs, I hear sometimes people wake up in the middle of the night and they have an idea for a song. Has that ever happened to you? Do you?
I can't say that it has happened. I mean, I've definitely been, zapped with inspiration a time or two.
Yeah.
Typically happens whenever somebody I know dies.
Right.
The four times that metaphysical imbuing of a song, the 4 times that's happened, it's happened around people either that I had a lot of respect for or knew personally that had passed.
Right.
And it's a really surreal experience, to be quite honest, to sit there and feel like you're in the presence of somebody that's already passed and they're whispering in your ear.
Wow.
And they're like, hey man, I know this is emotional for you, but you really need to stop crying because I have to go soon. You can't waste much time. Okay. Can you help me out? I need to get this message out. It's pretty surreal.
And I've been around Mark in his younger days where he would just not only sleep, but he would just write these amazing songs that I would come over at night and you would just be jamming. And some of my favorite songs that you ever did, Mark, were what I heard you play in Justin Dworsak's back house that were inspired, and I never liked your covers because I said, this guy can write. No, I mean, I love that you do Otis and everything, but man, just your own music. So, one of my favorite songs is when your son was born. I think you recorded it. What's the true story? Did you record that in the bathroom? How did that echo sound go?
I don't even remember where we.
Because it wasn't in a studio.
No.
Where was that? Because I remember the first time I heard it.
I don't remember recording Gavin's song.
I was like, man, it's echoey, but I like the sound of it.
I wrote it with with Dave Barnes.
Yeah. Okay.
I met with Dave for a writing session at his house in Nashville. And
can you pick a little bit of that?
Sure.
Don't worry about hooking up there. Just for us. I love this song.
Something like this.
Yeah.
I wish you freedom. I wish you peace. I wish you nights of stars that beckon you to sleep. I wish you heartache that leaves you more man. I wish I could be there, but I can't. And that's what Dave actually played me that day.
I get chills.
He said, man, I think we should write a song about your son. And I was like, all right, killer. What do you got something? And he played that.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, we're definitely writing that one.
And in that point in your life, and I kind of feel that as a salesperson, right? Because I'm always gone. That song always triggers something in me, brother.
Yeah, it's interesting. That song made its way into deployed soldiers' ears quite a bit, from what I could tell, from what I could gather from social media. I'm glad I wrote it whenever he was 6 months old and didn't wait to write it when he was 16. He's 19 now.
Yeah, we've talked.
Yeah, it's actually way better now, man.
Awesome.
It's once I reconciled myself to the fact that he is exactly like me and needs the hard lessons. Yeah. It was very easy for me to say, bye. You go out and live on your own. You're out of school and you're working 4 hours a week at the Cracker Barrel hosting. I'm not going to subsidize this lifestyle anymore. Go away. And I thought it would take 6 years
Right.
for him to call and tell me I was right about everything. It took 6 months.
Awesome. And I could just see, because I happen to know your wife, her just sitting back going, because she knew the young you also.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She was tough to convince though. She was really difficult to convince to send him packing.
Okay, I can see that. Mama Bear comes out.
Yeah, she was just really worried. And then my parents kept taking him in.
Ted.
And I had to tell
I
had to tell my son, I was like, dude, you realize that I have more faith in you than they do, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, why? What do you mean? I said, they keep taking you in because they don't think you're going to land on your feet.
Yep. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And it worked.
So Mark's dad is a Louisiana legend, musician himself, Ted Broussard. And some of my favorite times I've seen Mark is when him and his dad sing together. I mean, and that's what I go on YouTube. Me and my dad, that's what we lean to. By the way, he says hello. We lean to that. I just love seeing the joy when you guys.
He and I have a video that's got 32 million views.
Isn't that crazy? I know.
It's nuts.
It's just awesome.
Yeah,
so
it's
I love
amazing.
when you're able to share that. Your kiddos, are they playing music and stuff? Are they getting it? Do they have what you and your dad have?
The oldest is he's in a band. That's where he's living at the band house, at the Ball House.
Yeah.
In fact, their album just dropped today. It's a band called Losers Weepers.
Okay.
The band called Losers Weepers. I'm not sure exactly what the title of the album is.
Mm-hmm.
Go check them out though.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's in a band. It's like a punk pop band.
Cool.
You know, I've tried to educate him about the music business as well.
Right.
But
what does dad know?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how little he's actually listened to me with regards to the music business.
Mm-hmm.
He finally told me he gave up the ghost. He told me that he wants to make the big time. That's why he doesn't take my advice.
Okay.
Damn.
I love your laugh.
It took me a minute to realize what he was actually saying.
Yeah.
And once I did, I was like,
Backhanded.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when he started playing, I told him, I said, son, look, by the way, if you learn my gig on guitar, it's the last day you ever have to sit in a classroom and the first day you start really making some bread.
There you go.
I said, by the time, he was 10. I was like, by the time you graduate high school, you're going to be able to buy a house in cash.
Mm-hmm.
He practiced home for, I think, 5 minutes. And that was it. It was a done deal. He told me, so every birthday I would re-up that deal.
Yeah.
And his 18th birthday, I re-upped it. I was like, dude, look.
We're here.
I said, man, tell me that you don't like my music and I'll stop offering the deal. He says, no, Dad, it's not that I don't like your music. It's just, it's too hard.
Oh, man.
I said, so what you're telling me right now
There you
is
go.
is that you want to be in the music business, hopefully more successful than me,
Right.
by being less skilled than me, because I can play all my songs.
Oh man, and
that's
your
great.
band is phenomenal.
The band is
You've
stupid
had
good.
the same group. Now the horns are new for me to see, but
No, so I've actually had a bunch of different guys over the years, man.
Right.
Bunch of different cats. I've had
your drummer that I adore, who's
he's here now,
okay.
but this is the last hurrah.
well, at least I get to see him.
He took a job in New Orleans, building houses. He's a project manager on
So he's
for an old roommate of his. His old roommate's got like 10,000 square foot houses going up in New Orleans. So
Oh, man.
well, that's good to hear.
yeah, no, he's
And your
killing it.
bassist, who I love, plays it up here.
DJ took a job as well.
Oh,
Man.
Uh,
his backup vocals to you.
yeah, he's amazing.
Please don't tell me your lead guitar.
Lead guitar has transitioned to bass.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
he had
Good
his
guy.
own career, and he came along with you.
Yeah.
And you always give him a little shine.
And
Woo.
and look, he took a job too. Like it
Well-
might not be permanent. We'll see.
How much of this was impacted by the last year? And because that's
All of it.
I mean,
Good
the
point.
industry
Good
has been decimated by, and I've seen other industries as well, where anybody who needed to work took other jobs outside of their industry
Yeah.
if their industry was shut down.
Right.
And I'm sure that you guys dealt with that.
That's
a large degree.
that's the prime driver of these of the exodus. Unfortunately, you know, it's been tough.
Yeah.
It's been tough on a lot of the guys. You know, truth be told, man, side musicians,
You get $200 down in New Orleans.
right?
And, yeah.
Side musicians typically don't operate from an LLC.
Right.
So those side musicians didn't get access to the
the PPP loans
Exactly.
and the extra
Right.
government EIDLs and the assistance that was
Exactly.
available. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've paid my guys as contractors throughout my career.
Right.
I don't technically have it. I'm the only employee of my company. So yeah, I mean, it's been brutal.
Yeah.
It's been really, really brutal
Right.
on an industry that was already difficult to make ends meet.
Yeah. Bouncing back though. I mean, is everything
You know, we've
How do you
planned for
feel?
20 to 30% of the shows on the books to get canceled, and we're seeing cancellations every day.
okay?
Anytime there's a spike in cases,
Yep.
municipalities start pulling shows.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
I mean, I think that, what Brandon said, the bounce back, the unique thing that you have, Mark, is you just used Brandon's guitar, right?
Mm.
And just could sing.
Old strings and all.
With old strings and all. So not having a band, I know it's important, but I've seen you just on stage by yourself, you
Yeah.
know? So that's kind of,
yeah. I mean, the best advice I ever got, my drummer Chad Gilmore told me when we started. He said, "Don't start a band."
that was his advice.
That was his advice.
Don't start a band.
Don't actually start a band. You know,
Okay.
like pay us as sidemen. Don't try to incorporate us. Don't try to make this a band that everybody is operating under the same company.
Right.
Keep it independent. It was some of the best advice I've ever gotten, for
Right.
sure.
Right. You have some more sleep stuff for him?
I'm curious to know when he's going to come get that appliance. That's
Yeah,
what I
we
want to know.
will make sure. Before we get out of here, Mark, I definitely want you to do one more song, or you're picking.
Okay.
If I can ask you for one more song.
Of course.
Let's don't do the big setup and everything. Did that sound all right when he was doing that? I think he sounded amazing. And then we'll get a cheers because we have you on the clock. I want to make sure that we're respectful of your
I'm
time.
good to go. I don't have to be anywhere at any particular time.
I want to be respectful of your manager. and
It's
the
all
people.
good, man.
Okay.
It's really fine.
Okay.
I can stay as long as you need.
All right. So
Until
I'll
9
keep-
o'clock.
I'll keep it till I was going to say till 9 o'clock. Well, let's play something for me.
Sure.
Let's do something upbeat.
Yeah.
We have
Got
another guest in studio watching, and every time you play the sad song, she starts to get a little moany, like weepy. Let's hear it.
All right.
What you got, brother?
Oh yeah.
When your baby leaves you all alone and nobody calls you on the phone, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Here I am, honey. Come on, cry to me. Now when you're all alone in your lonely room and there's nothing but the smell of her perfume, don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Come on, cry to me. Whoa, nothing can be sadder than a glass of wine alone. Loneliness, such a waste of time. Oh yeah, you don't ever have to walk alone. Oh, you see, come on, take my hand, baby, won't you walk with me? Oh yes, when you're waiting for a voice to come in the night, but there's no one. Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Don't you feel like crying? Cry to me. Oh, yes.
Yes. Man, that's incredible.
It's just my favorite, just to
Fantastic.
watch you sing. It's just the joy it brings me. Gosh dang, it's good to see you, brother. We talked about inspiration earlier. You said that you don't just wake up, and unfortunately, you said inspiration comes when people pass, right?
Yeah.
And I think all of us can relate to, you know, the hurt and all that. But man, you have this most amazing family. And I'm sure that there's inspiration that comes from the kids, comes from outside sources, and joy. Do you have one of those that maybe helped you write a song, or that you could share with us, like just how it happened? Or
Man, you know, the kids' songs, the first obviously came from Dave Barnes suggesting that we should write a song for my kid, which started a tradition of me putting the kids' songs on the album.
Right.
So the next album, I wrote a song for Lil Gib,
yeah,
and then I wrote it. Well, actually, I think I wrote the song for my daughter Evangeline before I wrote Gibby's song. And then on my last album, I'm pretty sure it was the last album, I wrote a song called Please, Please, Please that I basically dedicated to my youngest. So I got all 4 kids knocked out, got them tightened up.
Was there pressure? Did you
Yeah,
feel
it was
pressure?
there
when
was
you
a
had
bit of pressure,
3,
I
yeah,
gotta
because
say.
the
man,
years
I
are
gotta
going. They're
do
like,
one
Dad.
Yeah, I mean, my youngest, she's 10. She's like,
Yeah.
when's my song coming, Dad?
You
I
know,
was like,
something.
it's already here. Here
something
it is.
something I think our viewers and people who are listening or watching these podcasts can relate to too is I love following Marc on social media, and I always I'm not the biggest social media guy, but I love the fact that you went and got, am I saying it right, an RV,
Yeah.
and you just took off
Oh yeah.
and with the fam,
Oh yeah.
and it was awesome. Like the
was
adventures,
incredible, man.
Okay, so can you share? A
Yeah,
little bit?
man. So the oldest was having some trouble his junior year.
This is awesome.
And I basically gave him an ultimatum. I said, you can either go to military academy, you can go to St. Stanislaus.
Yep.
You can go to what's called the Youth Challenge Program,
Yep.
the YCP program.
Up in North
It's a
Alexandria.
it's a National Guard run
in Pineville.
GED equivalency.
Yep.
That I've had several friends go through and it changed their lives for the better.
Yep.
I said, or you can go to Colorado Outward Bound. It's going to be 30 days under the stars in the Rocky Mountains. He chose the 30-day route instead of the 9-month or the 2-year route.
Because it's easier.
Well, Outward Bound.
I mean,
I know a little bit.
it's just shorter. I don't know. I don't know about easier.
Yeah.
You know, the kid had never slept under the stars in his life.
Okay.
And now he's sleeping under the stars at 11,000 feet.
Yep.
And learning how to use an ice axe
That's right.
to glissade down a mountain. But we bought the RV. We had been kind of hanging with some friends. They had RVs. We'd go meet them. We'd stay in the cabin at the RV park. And all the dudes would go to work during the day. They'd all leave. So it was just me and all the ladies and the kids. And one day I was like, man, I'm getting an RV. Screw it. And so I went down there and I left with an RV.
There's an RV.
And yeah, I mean, they like before COVID, dude.
I was
you
about
could
to say, I know.
could knock off.
I know.
They knocked off almost $60,000
I
from
know.
the sticker price.
I know. And
now I can get
Yep.
what I paid for my RV 20,000 miles later and 3 years later. I can get what I paid. So, anyways, bought the RV, loaded the family up, dropped the kid off in Fort Collins, caught the Royal Gorge on the way.
Awesome.
And then the rest of us went on a 6,000-mile road trip for the next 3 weeks. It was amazing. It was
That is
incredible.
and those are memories that your kiddos, man, they're gonna love that.
They've never gotten along better than when we're in the RV.
Isn't that interesting?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're like immediately once we get to the campground, they jump out, they drop their devices, jump out of the RV and start throwing balls at each other.
Yeah.
I love it.
What favorite spot? Where'd you go? Favorite stop on this trip?
Man, Lake Powell is incredible.
Yep.
I don't think there are too many experiences in my life.
Did you
that
hit
get
Four
better than
Corners when you were going?
that. No. So we did
Okay.
drop Gavin off in Fort Collins,
Right.
then went to Moab
Okay.
for Canyonlands and
Yep.
Arches.
Mhm.
Canyonlands is an amazing park as well.
Yep.
Then we went down through Monument Valley
Mhm.
and went over to Lake Powell and camped out of Lake Powell for 3 days. Got on the boat. Man, it's hilarious. I didn't realize how big that freaking lake is.
Oh yeah.
But, you know, the guys giving me the rundown, the safety rundown. I'm like, yeah,
I live in Louisiana.
I've been on the water my whole life.
We got
I know
pillows.
how to operate this boat, you
Uh-huh.
know. And we get on the water, and I tell the family, I'm like, well, let's go over to that big rock over there.
Mhm.
30 minutes later, we were halfway to that big rock.
Yep.
And there are canyons, there are like finger canyons
Yep.
that break off of that thing that'll run for hours, 7-8 hours.
Yep.
It was an amazing, amazing trip. Then we went back up to Salt Lake, which remarkably is, I've been to Salt Lake before, but I
Isn't it
love
crazy?
it, man. It's so
I'm-
nice.
I'm telling
That's
you,
cool.
it is.
The Natural
it's a
History
hit-
Museum there
Mhm.
is amazing.
Yep.
And we went to the Dave & Buster's, and the waitress there told us about this hot spring. It's the most mineralized hot spring in the world.
Wow.
And so we went up there. It's an amazing little spot. I can't remember the name of it. And then we trekked across Wyoming, caught Badlands on the way.
Awesome.
The wife got to pet a prairie dog. And then we went to Rushmore
Mhm.
and had a nice time there. There's a big KOA campground that's awesome there. And then we went into Chicago, got out of the RV for a few days, got into a hotel, and then just kind of made our, lazy way back home. It was an
That-
amazing trip.
That is awesome. Are y'all planning to do that again? Right? Because you took 3 weeks to do it, or did
Yeah.
y'all do it during?
No.
Okay.
So we did a bit of RVing this last summer.
Okay.
The-
Is that what it's called, RVing?
yeah.
So you're official.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I see the grin on your face. Okay.
No, like I'm looking for upgrades all the
Oh,
time.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the wife and the girls came on a little short run that we had in the Midwest
Oh, cool.
about a month and a half ago. I love it, man. I would live in the thing if
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
I would live in it. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about overseas. I know right now with the COVID restrictions and going, you said that some of your biggest, followers are in the UK and Holland, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Are y'all trying to plan to go and do that, or is that not even on the table right
It's
now?
not on the table right
Okay.
now. The airlines are so unreliable
Yeah.
for relying on them for work
Mhm.
that I've resigned myself to drive everywhere.
Cool. I do
So
too.
yeah,
I
I'm
do too,
looking
by the way.
I'm looking for a Sprinter van right now to
Me and Handsome Dan were just talking about that. Yeah.
I was about a week away from buying one.
Where are you?
Before quarantine hit.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. Handsome Dan wants to live in one.
Oh wow.
It was an idea.
No, that's cool. No, that's cool. He's got
Yeah,
a dog.
man,
He's got a
I just-
dog. He's got this.
I hated flying before the
Did you really?
pandemic.
That's a
well,
pain
I
in
hate-
the ass now. Yeah.
It's the biggest pain in the ass.
I
now.
fly.
Yeah.
I don't fly as much as this gentleman, but I fly a
Yeah.
lot. But now I just choose to drive more.
Yeah.
To where I cover, just because it is. It's just
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It's a hassle. It's
Yeah.
a hassle. Although you get to run into a lot of people snoring on the planes.
There you go.
So I hand out a lot of business cards.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that there's that benefit.
Yeah, I think once the COVID restrictions kind of get tamped down a little
Right.
bit, hopefully in the very near future,
Sure.
we'll be able to get back overseas. But for now, it's not an option.
And it's got to be just the most amazing feeling. Okay, you go. I'm just assuming all this. Do you want some more? Or you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. You go overseas, and all these people are singing your songs.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be. And I've seen you in concert do it sometimes. There's this place called the Do-Si-Do. Love when you play the Do-Si-Do. It's just an intimate room.
Yeah, man.
A barn from North Carolina. It's great. We'll look it up, Do-Si-Do. And you'll be quiet sometimes. People just start singing.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what that would be like overseas. How cool
dude,
is that?
It's a gnarly experience.
Right.
To be
No,
a bigger celebrity there than
Yeah.
I am here. Like I'm friends with huge stars, Like we
That's
go to
crazy.
lunch and people are asking us for photos and whatnot. It doesn't happen very often here. It happens at home.
Right.
It's happening
Oh,
more,
yeah.
a lot more lately
Yeah.
for whatever reason. But yeah, in Holland especially, Switzerland is a really great market for me as well.
Wow.
Um,
Where's the coolest place you've gone? Where's the furthest you've traveled? Have you done Australia?
Tokyo.
Oh, you did Tokyo?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I did a tour for the Navy years ago. No, 07, we did a tour for the Navy.
Oh, that's
So I got to see Okinawa, Tokyo, Korea, Djibouti, Africa, Bahrain.
Wow.
Got to land on the USS Enterprise floating in the middle of the Persian Gulf.
Oh, that's awesome.
Grab the cable and that whole deal. Chopper from that boat to another boat.
Wow.
Watch night ops and flight ops. Wearing the goggles that the pilots got on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was nuts.
You know, I had a question for you, and I was thinking about, I knew you were coming in, and I've always wanted to ask you this question, and be honest with me, because I think I've told the story wrong for many years. I saw you in Dallas at this awesome club, and this woman, I'll get there, was opening up for you, and she had this boyfriend. They were a little crazy. They were on the tour bus. We were hanging out before, and then she would come out and sing with you that Kenny Loggins and Messina song. What is it? Who I think it is?
Sarah Bareilles?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It was Sarah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember just hanging with her. Remember, she was engaged to that dude. And I'm like, who's this hippie chick? And then she would come out and sing that song with dude. And I remember just going, she's awesome, but she
She's
just kind of
great.
didn't really care. And then now you see her and you're like,
She's huge.
wow, I know.
Massive star.
Yeah.
And I thought that was her.
Yeah.
Like,
My brother ended up being her tour manager.
really?
Yeah. So I gave my brother his first job in the music business, my oldest brother.
Yep.
He sold a restaurant in Lafayette.
Yep. I used to go there.
And he was like a 10% partner or something in that restaurant.
Mhm.
And one day I asked him what he was planning on doing after he sold. And he's like, I don't know. I'm thinking about investing in a casino in the Dominican Republic. I was like, you made like 30 grand. What are you talking about?
Right.
Get on the freaking bus.
Yeah.
And he actually started out as our chef. He converted a road case of mine into like a mobile kitchen.
He was there. That, yeah.
But there were some pretty big holes in the crew at the time that he
Right.
rightfully recognized
Right.
and quickly moved up the ranks to tour manager. One of the best tour managers, probably the best tour manager I've ever had and will ever have. And now he's gone on to do the tour manage Sarah Bareilles and Christina Perry and Leon Bridges, and
Oh,
now
wow.
he's
Yeah,
production
awesome.
manager for Lauren Daigle.
Wow. You know, before we get off this show, I just have to tell you this in front of our audience. You know, the last couple of years have been a challenge, and I asked Mark if I could come talk to him. And I had just left Texas and was kind of in a bad way, and Mark gave me like the best advice, you know, because he always says I land on my feet. But since that time, you know, I live in Lafayette now.
Mhm.
And it was like your whole vision. And so I'm just really grateful for the private conversations we have. And besides, everybody knows you as an amazing musician. You're an amazing man.
Oh, buddy,
You really are.
I love you, man.
And I love you. And we're going to end it here before I start crying. So thank you. Yep. And
fresher.
I really do want to thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew.
Absolutely. Really appreciate you coming on, Mark.
How
Mark.
much sleep do you get?
Oh,
You know,
here
I'm
we
a-
go.
I'm
Keep
a-
it rolling.
I'm
Keep
a
it rolling.
pretty consistent 7.5
Yeah.
every night. Every night. I try to live by what I preach. Now I can't say every night. Like tonight, I might be out a little late,
Right.
but every night I try.
What's the longest anybody's ever lived without sleep?
Oh man,
There's a study out
There's a
there.
study.
Wasn't there a volunteer guy? What did he do? Like 11 days or something?
No, it was longer than that.
Was it?
They went 20 something days,
It
but
was something crazy, and he went nuts.
He went
Yeah,
crazy
right.
for like. Did he have lasting mental effects?
I don't know. I'm
Mm.
gonna look that up though. Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I think
That's-
Why do we
longest-
sleep, Doc?
There you go.
So there's
I need to
there's
know
great-
why we
there's
sleep.
a great book on
we
this.
go.
There's a lot of great books, but honestly, it's what your body needs. You know,
No,
so
no,
it's,
no.
it's a 4
Why?
pillars of health. Why?
Yeah. Why do we need it?
Okay, so brain function, memory, everything you learn and process during the day has to get stored in the brain. And it doesn't get stored in the brain unless you're sleeping. And unless specifically you're in REM sleep. So during that REM sleep is when everything that your brain is processing through the day decides, okay, what's important? I'm going to remember that and store it here versus what can be forgotten. And I'll let go of that over
That
here.
seems super, super strange. Like,
Let's hear it.
well, like, I mean, your brain is automatically determining what's important and what needs to be logged in long-term memory.
But rest is important.
But it is. And I don't know why or how. I don't know the answer to
I
that.
think the fact that we need
Yeah.
sleep is evidence that we're in a simulation. I think we're getting.
Oh, here we go.
Here we
I
Here
think
we
we're
go.
getting-
Here we
I
go.
think
All
we're
right,
getting-
we're gonna cheers. And listen, I love him.
No, it's
So
All
true,
right,
man.
there's
Like,
the new Matrix.
Here we
coming
go.
out, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Red pill,
Yeah.
blue
So
pill.
they're gonna-
Here we go. Oh.
No, I mean, like, think about it. You know, it's like a software update.
That could be too. I'll
Like
let you-
recharging
I'll
your
let you
phone.
know.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like just software update that we need to
I
get
like it.
every night.
All right, I'm gonna cheers on that.
Cheers.
Hey, thank you for sleeping with us. Love you, brother. I really do.
When the sun goes down and the moon is high, we'll be chasing